Hi, this is Chatterboxing. I'm Sean. Today I want to talk about yesterday's press conference with David Haye and Tony Bellew. I wanted to make this video yesterday, but I didn't have a chance, so I'm making it today, a little bit late. It was a very entertaining press conference, as I thought it would be. Very funny, as David Haye was on very good form. Tony Bellew as well come out with some quite funny comments. And for me, I said from the start, this to me is going to be the most entertaining part of the fight. The press conferences, the kind of back and forth between them all. A few things I want to talk about. Let's start with David Haye's comments, or his kind of attack on, if you like, Eddie Hearn. He says that he's sick of seeing Eddie Hearn on cameras. He thinks Eddie Hearn's trying to steal the limelight from people. It's all about him. He's more interested in promoting himself than promoting his fighters. I personally, I think that's his job. That's what Eddie Hearn is supposed to do. He's there to promote the fight, to sell the fight, and to make people interested, and to convince them to watch it. So Eddie Hearn is he's charismatic. He's funny. He's got a good sense of humour. He's interesting to listen to. If you watch his interviews, it gives you quite a good insight on how things work. Whether you believe everything he says or not, or whether you see it the same way he does, is obviously down to the individual. But he's definitely an interesting and entertaining bloke to listen to. And in terms of selling fights and making people tune in, he's very good at what he does. I mean, I made a video about the Tyson Fury Vladimir Klitschko first press conference in Manchester for the rematch. Tyson Fury wasn't there. Remember Mick Hennessy talking about, I'm a bit flat in the press conference. Tyson isn't here. That's not really good enough for me. I think like a promoter is basically a salesman. So if I got a business and other people are kind of selling things for me, and they phone someone up and go, "Oh, all right, mate. I've got some windows. If you're interested." "No, I'm all right, mate. Cheers." "Okay, not to worry. See ya." That's not really good enough, is it? I mean, you want someone to really promote it, really convince people to be interested in it, and to me, that's what Eddie Hearn does. So I don't really see what the problem is with that. David Haye, I think, probably a little bit of resentment there. Resentment more than anything at his kind of current place in British boxing. I think I remember when there was the Audley Harrison-David Haye fight, Eddie Hearn was promoting it, I think, or he was involved with co-promotion probably. No one really knew who Eddie Hearn was at that point. He wasn't really particularly well known. David Haye, on the other hand, was a huge star in British boxing. He was very well known all around the world, massive in Britain, big support, huge fan base, a mainstream star. I mean, he was the biggest star really in British boxing. Amir Khan was very big as well, but Amir Khan was based in America, and also he was David Haye's a heavyweight, so he's kind of more popular, more interesting. I remember when he went out to fight Vladimir Klitschko, loads of British people went out there to support him. He had like big shows on all around like Manchester, London, very, very big. Since then, his stock has dropped dramatically. Eddie Hearn's has risen. I mean, he's kind of shot to stardom in a way, Eddie Hearn. And David Haye's popularity and his status within British boxing is really at an all-time low. So I think there's a kind of resentment there. I think that's probably what that's about. According to Eddie Hearn, David Haye would have contacted Sky Sports, trying to get the fight on there without Eddie Hearn, and they would have told him, no, Eddie Hearn has to be involved. So he's probably just thinking, fucking like Eddie Hearn, who is this little fucker? That I think it's more to do with that than anything else. I think Eddie Hearn's doing a good job, and I don't really have a problem with him being on the cameras all the time. I don't think he's particularly stealing the limelight from anyone who's. I mean, really, he used the examples like Prince Nassim and Chris Eubank. Okay, there's only one Prince Nassim. There's Tyson Fury is I'd say a character like comparable, like a real character. He's not promoted by Eddie Hearn. Eddie Hearn's certainly not stealing his limelight. Who else is there really? There's like a massive character that Eddie Hearn is stealing the limelight from. You know, David Haye's got a good character, but he's not promoted by Eddie Hearn. So yeah, I don't know about that. He made a comment as well, which I think personally was a bit weak, a bit kind of playing to the gallery. I don't really like. He did it in an interview. He said that Eddie Hearn's basically a sort of silver spoon boy, and like trying to kind of just sort of discredit anything he's done because of that. Now, to me, the reason I say that's kind of sort of playing to the gallery, and it's because most of us boxing fans, most of us people in general, we don't come from really rich families like Eddie Hearn does. So you can kind of, it's like a kind of trigger word that you can kind of get like a mob. You know what I say, playing to the gallery, get a kind of mob, like, yeah, fucking hell, yeah. You say that and people just instantly react to it. Like, oh yeah, he's a silver spoon boy, yeah, fucking. But really, it doesn't have that much substance, in my opinion, because when Eddie Hearn took over Matchroom Boxing, it wasn't particularly big. Definitely wasn't big around the world. So Eddie Hearn, from what I can see, has worked his arse off to get it to where it is now, to get himself to where he is now. Yeah, he's obviously had some luck. Everybody has luck or bad luck, in terms of success. There's no such thing as a kind of self-made man. You get people who kind of start from a lower position, but everybody needs help, favours, collaborations, etc., etc. So Eddie Hearn has basically, from what I can see, worked his arse off for years to get to where he is now. Yeah, he was born into a rich family, and he had obviously like the promotional company was there ready, but he's kind of taken it to the next level. So I think he deserves credit for that. I don't think it's fair to just disregard any work or anything he achieves just because he was born into like a very rich family and his dad had already started the business. I don't remember it being that big before he took over. I don't remember people talk about Eddie Hearn now, one of the best promoters in the world. He's well known. I saw him when he went out for the Kovalev Ward fight. He was walking through Las Vegas, all like American fans kind of going, look, Eddie, like pictures with him, asking him questions. No, he's done that himself. So I think that's a bit unfair. And I don't really like just these kind of easy, typical comments that you can just put out there and that people will just react to it, whether it sort of stands up to scrutiny or not. So that's why I don't like that. And to be honest with you, like David Haye, like comes from a poor area, comes from a council estate, whatever. But he's a professional boxer. He's English, so if you really think about it, he's basically had the benefit of going to very good gyms since a kid, good coaching, good facilities, good investment, good sparring. He's had like kind of obviously we have problems in Europe, America, stuff like that. But it's not like do you know what I mean? It's not like he comes from like a third world ghetto. Do you know what I mean? Imagine someone with the talent of David Haye, but they were born in the favela, Rio de Janeiro, or I don't know, Johannesburg. Do you think he would have developed as well and had the opportunities he's had as if that had been the case? I very much doubt it. So where do you draw the line with this? I give people credit for the stuff that they do, basically, and I think that Eddie Hearn deserves credit for getting to where he's got. I think David Haye deserves credit for getting to where he's got in terms of boxing, and yeah, we'll sort of leave it at that. In terms of the press conference, David Haye seemed quite angry. They said he was rattled. He did. He seemed really fed up with everything. That Eddie Hearn thing was an example of it. Bellew was quite funny, coming out with some funny comments talking about having like a hairband and just going on about like the film. David Haye wanted to be like a movie star. Bellew starring in a film. He was quite angry, and I do think that he's going to be. I think it's genuine. I think he's going to be quite. I think he really does want to knock Bellew out. This is what I like about David Haye. To be honest with you, I like people who are good talkers in boxing. I like in life. I like good use of language. I like people who can take the piss well. People who can make a point very descriptively. David Haye to me is good to listen to. I like listening to at press conferences, especially when he's giving it the big one like that, when he's really like on fire. So for me, that's what I like. Well, that's one thing I like. Obviously, I like the fighting as well, but I do like that. So I know some people think, oh, well, it's just kind of. For me, I find it entertaining. So that's kind of one of the reasons why David Haye has got to where he is today. I mean, yeah, in the cruiserweight terms, he was undisputed. Well, actually, I think Steve Cunningham was about as well, actually, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway, like he was recognised as the man at cruiserweight, no doubt. But then when he got to heavyweight, it was kind of his mouth and his self-promotion that got him to where he was. You know, to got him to, like, I remember him at the airport turning up, like, you know, having a go at Vladimir Klitschko. So that's always been something that he's had going for him. He kind of lost that a little bit recently. I remember when the sort of Tyson Fury, I think he was being intimidated by Tyson Fury and by Shannon Briggs. Not saying that he was like sort of physically scared of them, but I just don't think he really liked confrontations with characters like that. Very kind of domineering, loud, taking over everything. I don't think he really likes that. In this kind of situation, he's very good. He's very entertaining, and yeah, I was quite happy to see that. I say for me, that's probably the best part about this fight. All the kind of press conferences, the kind of going back and forth. Because obviously you've got the McGuigans involved, and they've got a kind of beef with David Haye as well, which could have something to do with his kind of problem with Eddie Hearn as well. I mean, I don't know. In terms of the actual fight itself, I think that I can't see. I can't see any other outcome than David Haye knocking Tony Bellew out, to be honest with you. Tony Bellew said a few things which are true. He's been active over the last 5 years since David Haye hasn't been. He's been fighting decent competition. He's been improving. And he's been full of confidence. But I just don't, stylistically, I don't think his defence is good enough. I don't think he's quick enough on his feet. He doesn't have any kind of physical advantages. Vladimir Klitschko could beat David Haye with the kind of dimensions that he had. He was taller, much longer reach, very hard puncher, quick on his feet. He could basically just keep it long, straight punches. When David Haye did leap in with his kind of predictable, you know, right hand, he'd just take a step back, quick on his feet. I don't think that Tony Bellew has the attributes to do that. I don't think he has the defence to avoid getting hit, and I don't think he's going to be able to take getting hit. I mean, we saw him get against Adonis Stevenson. Adonis Stevenson is a hard puncher, but he's not as hard a puncher as David Haye, is it? Let's be real. Maybe you could say Tony Bellew was a bit drained. He's shown himself to be a better cruiserweight than he was light heavyweight. That's true, but still, when David Haye hits him, he's going to know about it. And I think unless David Haye is literally a shell of his former self, I just can't see Tony Bellew having the style or the tools to beat him. He's going to need to like get in close and kind of fight on the inside, but I just don't think he's going to be able to do it. I think David Haye has got faster hands, faster feet, and he's used to kind of fighting from range, and he kind of, you know, stays on the outside. I think Tony Bellew's going to be wary just coming in because he's going to get hit very hard, and he's going to think, you know, if he manages to block it, gets it on the arm, the shoulder, the glut, he's going to think, fucking hell, like I don't really need getting one of them around the chops. So I think he's going to be quite tentative, and I think David Haye is going to knock him out. He's going to be then fought from the range that suits David Haye, and I think it's only a matter of time. I do think Tony Bellew is kind of underestimating the fighting spirit of David Haye as well. He's talking about how he doesn't want to fight. He's basically thinks he's a bit of a puff, basically. Like, I don't mean like a homo, I mean like soft. And yeah, I don't really think he is. I think David Haye, for all his kind of slippery, kind of, you know, dodging good competition, but wanting to fight the big names. Right now, he wants to fight like Andy Joshua. big money fight, but he doesn't want to fight the top contenders. Despite all that, I think when he's basically back to the wall and when push comes to shove, he's a real fighting man. And he loves it. And I think if Tony Bellew thinks that he's going to be able to kind of intimidate David Haye or kind of take the fight out of him, I think he's in for a rude awakening. I think David Haye is he is a fighting man and he is serious like that. I think he's calculated and I think he kind of doesn't really want to take risks, but you're not going to go in there and basically bully him and like sort of take his heart. I can't see it at all. I can see David Haye really kind of, because I think he wants to put on a bit. I think he's kind of angry and he wants to really sort of put Bellew in his place. I think you're looking at. I'd be very surprised if it goes beyond 5 rounds. Personally, I can't see it. So Tony Bellew. I mean, is this another kind of Golovkin-Brook situation? Because that's one thing you could possibly accuse Eddie Hearn of. People saying that he's putting these fighters in fights that they've got no chance of winning. Kell Brook versus Golovkin, Paul Smith against Andre Ward. Now this one, these are like the 3 sort of typical examples, obvious examples. I don't think Tony Bellew's got any chance of winning. I don't believe really that Eddie Hearn expects him to win. But who knows? I mean, at the end of the day, it is prize fighting, isn't it? They're doing it for money. Tony Bellew's lost already. So yeah. I mean, I'd like to see a competitive fight, but I can't see it, to be honest. So yeah. Sorry, I've been waffling on for quite some time, so I'll leave it there. That's all I'm going to say on it. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching.